Welcome to episode 107 of the Brand X podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, John, and alongside me is Deuce.
¿Cómo está, bitches?
I got to tell you, I was wringing my hands last night because I did a Boomer Bunker Monday. I did a Boomer Bunker last night. Then I had this show to do. And then tonight I got to do Rubberneckers. And I'm like, what are we going to talk about? And we never have a problem figuring out what to talk about. But the thing is, I feel like I'm rehashing everything. So I was like, okay, so what could we do? Now, I don't know if you have any topics that you would like to start off with.
Have you were there, didn't I? Just sitting there.
You know what? I've learned with Boomer Bob.
You had that look on your face like, oh, don't tell me the feed cut out.
No. I knew that you were there.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of shit to talk about what's going on in the world today. Yeah, and then there's just other observations I've had regarding life. Like, here's one. This just came up as a topic. This is what I believe is people's over-reliance on a cell phone.
Ooh.
Okay, now, just because you have a phone, I think some people feel like you have to use it for everything. And here's what I mean. When we started to redo this podcast,
yes,
if you think about it, the way it happened was I was in your area.
Mm-hmm.
Now I got to shut that off. Hold on. I thought I shut my mail off, but apparently I did not. Okay, that's done. I was paying bills before we started this.
Boomer's podcasting. Go ahead.
Right. So, but I did it online. So here's the thing. We started this thing because I was in your area,
mm-hmm.
and I shot you a text. See, in the old days, I would just drive up to your house and knock on your door.
That's true.
Okay, but no one does that anymore.
No.
So now it's like, hey, let me shoot you a text and see if you're available.
Correct.
If you're in the area, like, hey, I'm around. Are you free?
Yes.
All right. I get that. That's acceptable. Now, this is a change that I've noticed now with millennials and Zoomers, I guess. And I brought this up, and everyone looked at me like I was wrong. So if I'm going to have a party,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to have a Labor Day barbecue.
Yes.
And I invite you, and I invite a bunch of other people. And I say, yeah, come over at 2:00. Why is it that everyone feels compelled to pull up in front of my house, park their car, and text me that they're here? Instead of walking up to the fucking door and ringing the doorbell, I'm expecting you. You know, and I brought this up, and all these young bucks looked at me like I was wrong. So I didn't get the memo that this procedure changed. You know, if I'm expecting company and I tell you to be there at 2:00, if the fucking doorbell rings, then I know my company's here. So it's just like an over-reliance on a phone that you really don't need to be relying on it for.
You're absolutely right. No, you're not wrong. But here's the thing.
Have you experienced this?
Absolutely. All right. So if I can tell you my dilemma. See, you're still mobile. You're still healthy. You still got all your, you can walk and run and do all that shit we used to do. I, on the other hand, am not. Okay. I have a whole thing, a whole new way of living now that I've adapted to my situation. So if someone comes up here and knocks on the door, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Now, if back when I was 30, if you knocked on a door, I'm like, hey, man, Deuce is here. It's like that comedian.
Sebastian Maniscalco.
Yes, like him. It's like, in the beginning, they come in, oh, come on in. Greg, here's some people. You want a beer? Sit down and watch a TV. We start shooting the shit. It's fantastic. I want to get back to that spot. Matter of fact, I've been thinking about that for the past 2 weeks, about how I'm starting to ease into that. Because you know me, whenever I do something, I throw myself into it. And I can't do that now because I throw myself into it, then I injure myself and I set myself.
Throw your back out.
Yeah, exactly. I always say my back goes out more than I do. That being said, I understand it because my kids do the same thing. They pull up here and they text me, I'm here. I never thought about them just knocking on the door. Because if they knocked on the door, I'm like, what the fuck? So now, like if
right, but that's like you said, that's different. If I decide to have a party,
no, I know,
and I tell everyone, hey, come over at 2 o'clock. I'm expecting you.
Yeah.
Knock on the door, walk in the backyard. Hey, look who's here. Oh, you made it. Great. The only text I expect to get from you is like, hey, I'm lost. I'm at the Wawa.
Right.
How do I get to your house from here?
Exactly.
And that's acceptable. I get that, but it's, I don't know. And the mental gymnastics all the people in the break room were making to justify this stupid practice, I just got exhausted. Well, I'm outnumbered here, because they're just going to dig in and make themselves right because they do this stupid shit.
Yes. The theme I had for the show today was basically freedom isn't free. And the reason I say that is because a lot of shit that is going on and exactly what you experienced. So what you experienced in the break room was the tyranny of the minority. So because of all these advances, they now believe that they are right. But why would you, again, if you think about this, neither one of you are wrong. It's just the aggravation of what you're willing to put up with. So in other words, the text is the new doorbell.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well just take the door knocker off your door.
Yeah.
Hell, you just might as well brick it closed.
Right.
Oh, you're here? Climb in through the window. Right?
No,
Why have a door?
Wait a minute. I got one better. You're here. Let's FaceTime. You stay in your car. We'll FaceTime, and we'll have a great time. Matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll have somebody deliver food to you out in your car.
You want Chinese? Or maybe you want pizza.
What I'm doing is I have a drone here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some hamburgers and some macaroni salad on a plate, and I'm going to fly it out to your car and drop it on the hood. So you can.
It was just I was dumbfounded because because obviously I just experienced this, so I brought it up, and I was like, I don't get it. It's just because you have something like a phone doesn't mean you have to use it for everything.
But it doesn't mean you can't.
Yeah.
I understand your point.
I remember I told you one time I went for a ride in the car one day for 3 hours, left the phone at home, and you were appalled.
I was like, oh, what?
Yeah, and we did this all the time. Because to me, a phone is still a dog leash.
It is.
It's just like, I'm leaving this bitch at home. I'm going to go out. Like just right now, the damn email chime went off because you're just like, I don't want to be interrupted. Any other time, it's fine. But now we're going to do a podcast, and we don't need the chime interrupting.
True.
While we're doing that, so all right, I screwed up. I forgot to turn it off. Yeah, so shoot me.
No,
but it's just like
I don't mind that one time.
But it's just this tyranny of the phone. Like everyone,
it is.
It's like a remora attached to a shark.
You know what it is? It's a lifeline. So in other words, you said you went out for a 3-hour ride, and my first thought was like, what would happen if you broke down? What would you do?
Someone else has a phone.
What do you mean?
Someone else will have a phone. Hey, you need help, buddy? Yeah.
Can I borrow your phone? Okay. All right. Yeah, okay. You're down with that.
Yeah.
Before.
But then again, my cars have OnStar and all that. Most of the modern cars do. So you have that out.
Yeah. If you're out in your car and you break down, you can just hit OnStar. Matter of fact, I think OnStar. I do not have a car that is new enough to have an OnStar. You can make phone calls from OnStar too, can't you?
Yeah.
All right, so if you're in trouble, all right, so you left your phone home, but your car's a phone now.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of. All right, so that's not that big of a deal. But, when we were younger, we didn't have cell phones. So if you broke down, you'd walk to somebody's house, knock on the door. Hey, I'm broke down.
Look for a payphone.
Yeah, a payphone. God forbid you should try to. There's one payphone that's still that I know that's in this area. It's over in front of the Heritages on Jessup Road. And it's a payphone. And it's never taken down, still there.
And let me tell you who's using it. Meth addicts.
Meth addicts?
People are making drug transactions. Every time I see a payphone, it looks like the cast of Breaking Bad is surrounding that goddamn payphone. So they got the scabs on their face. They're all dressed like Pinkerman. So that's where they get their drug transactions if they don't have a burner phone.
Yeah, burner phones are expensive. All right, so here we go to the freedom isn't free anymore. And the reason I say that, I guess I briefly talked about, or I texted you. We don't even talk on the phone anymore. We text back and forth. Before we would just pick up the phone and call and you go, hey, what's going on? And you would just say, hey, listen, we're going to go, when do you want to do it? Thursday? Okay, what time? 11 o'clock? Fine, that's fine.
That's what texting is for.
Okay.
Short, concise info. I'm almost there.
Yeah. There we go.
Hey, I'm lost.
So I talked about Podcast Movement, which is a podcast conference, and the groveling that Podcast Movement did publicly through Twitter.
Something else we don't need. TikTok, Twitter. Everything we don't need begins with T. Except for titties.
We do need titties. All right, so Podcast Movement made this big guffaw because Ben Shapiro showed up and walked around the floor for like 15 minutes, took pictures with people in a booth that they paid for.
Yeah. Top dollar, I'm sure.
Right, and paid $30,000 to be a co-sponsor of the event. So somebody who had a uterus, was non-binary, texted, they made one text and nothing happened. So then the second text, they took a picture of Ben Shapiro and said, hey, Podcast Movement, what the fuck? I don't feel safe having him here. And the apology, the falling on the sword from Podcast Movement about how we're sorry and you're right and
we screwed up
and everything that happened. And this is from the tyranny of the minority. This is what's going to ruin this country, is the tyranny of the minority and the unacceptance of people that you don't agree with. That's the problem with this country right now.
You know, it's funny because I went to, like you did, Camden County College, and I took a management course back when I worked for Lorillard because I was in the program. And the professor had said, who makes the decisions, the majority or the minority? You know, and most people raised their hand. I'm sitting there, and most people raise their hands and are saying the majority. He says, you're wrong. It says at every board meeting with a company, all you need is one or two vocal people that stress the opposite opinion of what they would like to do. And the people that don't have a backbone fall in line.
Exactly.
And I learned that in 1989, 1990, when I was in that program. And once again in the break room, I made that point. And there's a couple of people in the break room that are people of color, and they took the opposite stance. They made it sound like I was making it sound like that the people of color are the problem. And I said, no, when I say minority, I mean the minority.
Minority, not minority
like
race.
55% of the people in this room like Coca-Cola over Pepsi. The Pepsi drinkers are the minority. The minority doesn't mean it's a race or an ethnicity or a creed thing. It's just somebody's got to be in the minority on any given topic.
Right.
And those are the people that sway the rest of the people, or try to.
Kind of, sort of. I'm with you to a certain point, but there's an example I can use as far as smokers where the majority ended up taking over the minority.
Right.
But I'll go back to that in a second.
What are you going to say that's good about smoking?
Nothing. There's nothing good about it. So let me go back
that's what I mean. It's tough to defend that, but go ahead.
So let me go back to the Podcast Movement thing. So I was outraged, as I do. And you know me, I immediately go to guns. I'm like, fuck Podcast Movement. This podcasting's supposed to be there's supposed to be no barrier to entry. Anybody with a microphone and a computer can go and have a podcast and put their message out to the world. And that's what Podcast Movement should be about. Bringing people like that together, letting people get their message out. It's not about the message. It's about being able to get your message out and being a podcaster. That's what Podcast Movement's about. But you had some person who decided that they felt unsafe. Okay, they're not, but okay, they felt unsafe. So they decided that with 153 Twitter followers and they started this whole hornet's nest. And I don't think Podcast Movement could have handled it any worse by caving.
They did everything wrong that you could possibly do.
Yep.
Once you apologize, it's never enough.
It's not. Because then people are like, well, we're not accepting your apology. You should have known better. You should have known better than what? Not allowing the sixth biggest podcast network in the world and like the top 10 biggest podcast in the world spot in a podcast conference. Now,
and if you read that tweet, it's like, what the hell was he doing? I mean, they made it sound like he was like, like a Clockwork Orange, they're doing the singing in the rain, like Ben Shapiro just beating people over the head with a club. Well, what was he doing? Then you see the video that they show on the Daily Wire. Hi, how you doing? Thank you for your support. Oh, selfie? Sure. Taking pictures. Thanks a lot for everything. And he walked off like...
Yeah, and that's the guy you feel unsafe about.
Yeah. As Ben Shapiro would say, what's a 5'9" Jewish guy going to do?
So the guy that really, really took it hard was Jeremy Boring, who is I guess it's the partner of Ben Shapiro.
He's the co-founder with Ben Shapiro and Daily Wire.
Right. So they had...
By Jeremy's Razors.
Jeremy's Razors. That's another example. Put a pin in that. So I was listening to their backstage, and Jeremy Boring went off. He's like... And he explained everything.
The conference call that he had with them. And...
The owner. The owner. So... Well, first of all, they called and he said, hey, listen, Jeremy said to the podcast movement guy, whose name is Dan Franks, that's the president. He said, I want you to take that tweet down and I want you to apologize. And he says, well, we'll give you your money back because I don't want my $30,000 back. Mm-hmm. I want my $300 million company not to be besmirched by you.
Right.
We did nothing wrong. We didn't break any rules. We didn't offend it. We didn't do anything to offend anybody. We were there supporting people, supporting your conference with money. Yeah. And you know what? And we also want the groveling. That's
what I was just going to say. I said, but I want my apology to be just as groveling as it was to the first person.
Exactly.
And all the Twitter people.
Yeah. So again, what happened was then we had a divide. And one of the things that Ben Shapiro said during that episode was he said, the cowards need to be punished. And I was like, he's right. The cowards need to be punished because freedom's not free. You have to work for freedom. And if you're going to allow one person with 158 followers to bully the number 6 podcast network on the globe, if you're going to allow them to do that and not say anything, this is ridiculous. I'm sorry, but the Daily Wire was in the right and podcast movement was in the wrong. And you know what? There's a way back from this podcast movement. What you have to do is say, you know what? We overreacted. And this is a inclusive podcast community. And you might not agree on ideas, but you should agree on the right for everybody to express their ideas.
I don't know enough about podcast movement to know enough, but the Daily Wire is so successful based on people like me that are paying them to have that content on the air. Is podcast movement like that, or are they just totally dependent on other podcasts to have this conference to sustain them? So, I mean, how do they make their money is the point I'm making.
So what they do is they have sponsorships. Like, in other words, you could be a gold sponsor, and let's say, I don't know, maybe the Daily Wire was a gold sponsor, $30,000, or maybe it was like $100,000 that you would need.
Well,
so,
right, to
so
that
you have
conference.
That. Okay.
But how are they making money the other 364 days out of the year?
This is it. The conference. That conference is how they make all their money. It's like $300 for a ticket to go to this thing. All right. They get vendors to come and buy booths. There's money for that. And then they have sponsorships.
So it's a trade show organization.
It's exactly what it is. It's a trade. That's all it is. That's all it is. That's exactly what it is.
So they can fold up like a circus tent.
Correct. If people don't go there next time, and I know there's a lot of people that aren't going to go now. And I was one of those people. I said, you know what? I'll never go to another podcast movement. And now I'm thinking about this. And my friend Dave Jackson, he's my mentor. You know, whenever I have a real problem with anything in podcast, I go to him. He is my mentor. And he's one of those guys that thinks before he speaks, unlike me. You know, he went in and he just made it all make sense. He said, you know, the thing is that they qualify to be there. So why aren't they allowed to be there? And, you know, that we have to be tolerant of other people. Now, the thing is, when he put this out on his podcast, people were like, you shouldn't do this. You know, you could get canceled. They could come for you for this. That's a guy who's not a coward. There are other podcasts about podcasting that didn't even touch it, like walked away from it like it was a pile of flaming shit on the floor.
I assume they have sponsors.
Yeah, or they don't want the minority mob coming after them.
Well, and that's the thing, because the mob will go after your sponsors.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the sponsors could cave.
If we had Casper mattresses here, because I know you like to joke about that every time. But yeah, if that was our sponsor, then you'd have some chick with blue hair that thinks she has a cock is going to call up Casper mattresses and put pressure on them. And the next thing you know, you lost your sponsor.
All right.
That's how they do it.
So again, let's go back to Punish the Cowards. Harry's Razor sponsored the Daily Wire. And one of the Daily Wire's shows is Michael Knowles. Michael Knowles said something. Some kid with like 150 followers on Twitter.
Well, you know what he said, don't you?
What did he say?
He had the temerity to suggest.
Michael
Knowles had the temerity to suggest that a man cannot become a woman and a woman cannot become a man. And that was hateful, and it did not align with Harry's Razor's ethics.
Right. So then this kid tweets at Harry's Razors, and Harry's Razor says, well, that's it. We're pulling all our funding from the Daily Wire. And that pissed the Daily Wire off. So you know what they did? They said, well, guess what? We're going to get into making razors business.
Jeremy's Razors.
They
got 75,000 subscribers already.
I'm not one of them.
Well, clearly not. You haven't shaved in decades, but, you know.
Well, let me tell you about that. Did you know what razor I used to have? You know who?
I used to use the Gillette Mach 3.
I used Harry's Razors.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, Harry's Razors. I had a subscription to it.
Okay. I used to use the Gillette Mach 3 and used it for years, but when they put that woke commercial on the Super Bowl about 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, well, that's that. With the Pound Me Too movement, and I had to switch to Schick.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, I just bought like 30 goddamn Schick blades. But when they're gone, I'm getting me a Jeremy's Razor.
All right. So I had like 4 packages of 16 blades from Harry's Razors. I ran out about a month ago. Here's the problem with Jeremy's Razors. To go get Jeremy's Razors, you got to buy a kit, which is a bag, and it's got balm in it and shaving cream and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't need that shit. I need a handle, some fucking blades, okay? I don't need your balm and your face cream and your whatever shit in your bag. I don't need any of that. I don't want your bag. When you decide to sell just razors and blades, let me know. Meanwhile, I haven't had a razor.
The opening order comes that way?
I guess. I don't know.
Maybe that's just the opening order, and after that, you just refill.
I understand that, but I don't want that. And again, Jeremy's Razors is like, well, fuck that. This is how you get it. And I'm like, well, fuck you. Guess not. I don't care about your politics.
I'm sure that was in their business model. I said, fuck you. You're getting the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is because...
They had a board meeting there.
Yeah. Fuck these guys. They're going to get the bag and the bomb and all that other tubes of shit that we got to give them because that's all going to come in the kit. And then if they want the razors after that, then they can buy the replacements. So I'm a man on an island without a razor. So what I have to do is just use my beard trimmer and that's how I've been shaving for the past 3 months. I have not picked a razor.
You should get drunk and upset and accidentally fuck your beard up and then show up the baby face that you did at Kavinsky's that night. Like, who the fuck's that guy?
Oh, my God.
Oh, it's John.
How drunk did I get that night?
Yeah, and now we know why you grow a beard. You're like an 8-year-old in a man's body.
So I'm getting ready.
Baby face.
I got to trim my beard, and I'm getting ready, and I have the trimmer on, and the trimmer slips off, and I go, wow, and I put a goddamn, just like a lawnmower.
Racing stripe
right across my side of my face.
Do you remember what you were upset about?
I don't, but I know I was upset about something.
I could tell you what you were upset about.
Okay, well, tell me what I was upset about.
There was some girl that you were trying to punch in the shorts.
Oh.
You know, you wanted to throw some lumber into the woodshed.
Yeah.
And she used you so you would write her paper for college. And then you wrote the paper. And then she said, yes, sod off.
Yeah. Yes. And here's the funny story about that.
So you were a bit miffed about that.
Right. You know why? Because I was stupid. And I'll tell you why. Because she was
the allure of the vagina. That's why.
Well, no. Let's just think about that. If I would have just broke it down at that time, and she would have said to me, "Hey, John, you know what? I need help in English." Imagine her coming to me for writing. Right?
Yeah.
That's how dumb she is.
Rhodes Scholar that you are.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what, John, I need some help. You help me with my paper, and I'll fuck the dog shit out of you for the whole semester. And after that, we go our separate ways. I would have been like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Again.
Sign me up.
Sign me up. That's fine. To take that story a little further, I end up separating from my wife 20 years late, 25 years late. But I don't know how many years later.
Oh, yeah.
I run into her again.
Did she want you to write an English paper?
No, but guess what? We ended up being in a relationship for a year and a half, and that crazy bitch, she was insane. So she did it to me twice. But anyhow, the second time I was a little bit, I was on to her for the second time. But still, I needed that after being married. I needed that crazy physical relationship after being married. I needed that for about a year and a half. And then after that, I don't know, she's somebody else's problem now. But it's so funny about that. Okay, so then I found out her boyfriend came back from college, and now she's going back with him because he was away at school. So now he's on break for a month, so she's going to just move on to him. Okay, fine. That's fine.
Glad I could help you reminisce.
Oh my God! So then I go to shave. I put a racing stripe in my beard. So then I try to trim it up, and by the time I got done, I had a pencil thin mustache.
You like Joe Jackson.
I looked like that.
Michael Jackson's dad.
So I said,
the angry thin mustache.
Yeah, and a little tiny beard, like a little chin patch. I was like, all right, that's it.
You look like the guy on the deviled ham can.
Yes. I shaved it off and then came in, and of course, you guys were so understanding.
Well, that's what friends are for.
That's breaking my balls. But within 3 weeks, I had a beard back again. It was no big deal. This is why I love this podcast, because we get into something and all of a sudden we go off on a tangent. So, yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen now. I don't know if the Daily Wire, because when you pick on the Daily Wire, they come back at you. In other words, they don't lie down and they don't apologize.
Hey, they sued the OSHA.
That's right.
And won.
That's right.
Took it to the Supreme Court.
Yes, they did. And that's what we need now. So here is my plan to get this country back together. See what you think. We got to go back to the thing where we used to say, I don't agree with what they say, but I will fight for their right to say it. I don't have to listen to them. I oppose them, and I will debate them on a point-by-point issue. But they have a right to say what they want to say. We got to get back to that.
I agree with that to a point. Some speech should be suppressed.
Okay, which speech is that?
Like what's going on in the schools where, we're going to trans your kid.
Oh, okay.
But you're not. Yeah, there's no room for that. There's no reason that they're normalizing pedophilia.
Correct.
And now they're trying to change the definition. Now they want to call them MAPS.
Right. Oh, yeah. Minor attracted people, because pedophilia has got a...
Yeah. Banging a 6-year-old sounds kind of bad, but if I'm attracted to one and I don't act on it, we should suppress the shit out of that.
Well, they're also teaching kids about sex at an age from basically preschool all the way up.
Well, now they want them in preschool.
Yeah.
Some of these radical states, like this one.
Yeah. And my point is that you can't teach a kid that because they can't understand it. Why don't you teach the kid calculus? And I know I've said this before, but you can't, kids aren't able to understand that. We had a story on the Boomer Bunker, and it was where a grandmother had her daughter, who was now transitioning into a boy, in the gay pride parade. And he was like, I don't know, 7 years old, 6 or 7 years old. And he's out there and he's saying that he's transitioning. And I'm like, does he even know what that means? Does he still believe in Santa Claus? I mean, if you still believe in Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, and all that shit, should we allow you to make any decisions for yourself? I mean, you can't smoke, drink, or own a firearm, in some states until you're 18, 19, or 20. I don't know. There's an age restriction. Mm-hmm. But
21 now for smoking.
Okay.
You can die for your country at 18, but hey, you can have a little bit of tobacco.
But you can transition at 6. I don't know how that makes any sense.
Well, because they need future voters. That's the end goal. As you see, with all that stuff that's going on, look at how many people are yanking their kids out of public school and enrolling them in private and Catholic schools.
Yes.
Because it's just like, we don't need this shit.
And then what's the first thing they say is, oh my God, you can't do that. We need you. We need you here because if not, we're going to start losing teachers. Well,
The ironic thing that leftists do, they do this a lot, and this is a good example. How many years have they been screaming that the problem with the schools is because the parents aren't getting involved and they're relying on the teacher to do everything? But then thanks to the COVID shutdowns, when parents are seeing what they're being taught and the parents stand up and saying, we're not having this, then they tell the parents, well, you need to butt the fuck out because you have no say in this. They want to pick and choose their position. And they do it on a lot of things, and that's just one of them that they did it on is the schools. Oh, you parents aren't involved. All right, now I want to be involved. Well, no, sorry, you can't. It's up to your 8-year-old kid to decide whether he wants to be a boy.
I'll never forget the time I embarrassed my wife at the time. We went to a class on how to teach new math.
Oh, core? Common Core?
Common Core. And they're in there, and they're like, you take
what a
this.
disaster that was.
And you need a box, and you do this and all. And I'm sitting there, I'm listening, and they go, any questions? And I raise my hand, and they look at me, and I go, is this a joke? And everybody just, how they turn
record
and look at
scratch.
me, right? And I said, I'm not teaching my kid that. That's stupid. Oh, well, the problem is that you've been doing it this way so long that if you learned how to do it this way, you'd be faster. I said, okay, how long have you been doing it? Let's do this. Let's put a problem on the board. I'll do it my way. You do it your way. Let's see who's faster. Well, we don't have to get into that, right? Now, my wife is trying to crawl under the desk, right?
Kicking your shin.
Shut the fuck up. No, I'm not shutting up. This is dumb. I'm not teaching my kids this. I refuse. I'm teaching them the way I was taught, the way math has been taught since the beginning of time. But everybody turned their heads. Nobody said a word in there. They all shut up. We walk out for refreshments, and they came up to me and said, boy, I'm glad you said something, because I was thinking the same damn thing. This is stupid. Why are we teaching them how to do this? This is harder, and it's easier to make mistakes. It's backwards, yes. Did one person in that classroom stand up with me and say, you know something? The fat man is right. No, they did not. They just sat there and didn't say anything. They let me take all the arrows, slings, and arrows, and let me debate them, and they didn't say a word. But they all agreed with, not all of them. I'm sure there's a couple of knuckleheads.
It's funny, like how one of the arguments they'll make is like, well, memorization does not work. Right.
Really?
And yeah. I mean, that's how they taught us in the 3rd and 4th grade, memorization of the times tables.
Sure.
And once again, the old fart in the break room, something came up, and it was like a basic math issue. Like, I mean, it was like, what's 8 times 9? And 2 of them were pulling their phones out. I was like, it's 72. It's been 50 years since I've been in the fucking 4th grade, and I still know my times tables.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, so much for that reliance on memorization. Can't have any of that.
Tell me what your childhood phone number was.
Oh, I could do that. 784. Right. Well,
okay, so you can do it. I can do it.
Well, not only that, how many phone numbers did you have memorized in your head?
20 or 30?
Yeah, exactly.
All your friends?
Parents, your grandparents, all your friends. Like, we would be sitting at Kaminsky's. Oh, go call John up. Oh, and I would go to the payphone. Like, yo, we're here. Where are you at?
Right.
Off the top of my head, 10, 15 numbers I could have just spewed right out at somebody.
Exactly. Now, I don't even know my children's phone number. I have no idea what my...
You know what? When you see it, when it pops up, you might... Well, even if you don't have their name on your but I mean, if you see a number like, oh, well, that's so-and-so's number.
Maybe. I don't even know if I know that.
Yeah.
The only person's phone number that I could really recite, to be honest with you, is my ex-wife's. That's the only one that I can still remember.
That makes sense, because you're still, you have children together and, you're still interacting with holidays and whatnot.
Yeah, but every one of my kids have had a phone for at least 10 years and the same phone number. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know yours. I don't know your phone number.
Well, I'm offended.
I am offended, and I have rights.
I was offended, and I have rights.
Do you know
How
mine?
dare you? No.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I'm not sure. I think, was your address 9?
It was neither.
What was it?
I'm bleeping all this out just so you know.
Okay.
Because you know what you got? You got the numbers right for where I live now.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but there's like a lot of addresses I remember. I remember all my coworkers' addresses that I used to work with at Laurelard. Yeah, because we would write Christmas cards. You'd have to write correspondence. It was just like rote. You just learned it by rote. You know, and I still remember that half of them are down in other states now. They don't even live there anymore. Still remember them.
Christmas cards are still going to the old house. Who's this?
No, they're not getting Christmas. But everyone looks forward to my Christmas cards because I always just make illustrations of that bastard Herb. So,
Herb. We haven't talked about Herb.
I would draw a cartoon and tell you what you're going to do here. Yeah, I used to draw like if everyone had an interaction with Herb. So whatever their particular interaction was for that year, I would illustrate on the Christmas card and mail it to them. And at one time, Herb dropped by one of their houses, and they had to hide it. He says, "Yeah, I think he might have seen it. I don't give a shit. I'll draw a picture of him right in front of his face. I don't care."
Whose Christmas card is this? Who's that? Oh, Herb, that's you.
It's that goddamn Deuce.
Goddamn Deuce.
Wait till I get with him. Yeah, he used to slaughter metaphors and proverbs. And then he would get mad if you laughed. You couldn't laugh because he would get angry.
Yeah.
Until this day, my favorite one was what he would do. He would like totally butcher them, mostly by combining phrases. And my favorite till this day is, that way, if you do that and I do this, we can kill two birds with one bush. And you're not allowed to, God forbid you should laugh, you know. It's like, what's so funny?
The story I love is when you guys went down to Ocean City for, I guess you guys did some kind of group thing down there, and he wanted you to steal a chair from the hotel.
He wanted me to steal a goddamn lounge chair from around the pool, you know. And back then, that's the PVC lounge furniture had just come out. So this is like the early 90s. And, you know, it's like hotel grade. It weighed a ton. And they didn't reticulate. They were just, the only thing was the backrest went up and down. That was it. So this thing was like 10 feet long. Where am I going to hide this in my minivan? We're missing a lounge chair. Well, I don't know. There's a fleet of minivans out there in the parking lot. Maybe we should gaze in through the window and see if there's one in there. Like, they're not going to figure it out. You don't need to get Scooby and the gang out on this one. I mean, I'm pretty sure they would figure it out.
Deuce, I want you to go and take one of those chairs and take it to my house. You think you get that?
Well, the funny thing about it was we and the assistant division manager were drinking beers around the pool, and he comes out and he goes, "Come here." "Yeah, what's up?" "No, over here." So now the assistant division manager is like, well, what the fuck could he be telling him that I can't hear? We're both his manager. You know? So we get where Mark can't hear it. And he goes, later on when it gets dark, why don't you make one of these lounge chairs disappear into your van? And at the time, I was going through the management program, like I was saying. So I thought it was one of these fucked up corporate tests, you know, to see if I'm honest anyway, but to see if you're honest and like what you would do. And I'm like, I thought he was joking, or maybe it was one of those. I was like, and what happens when I get caught? Who knows you? Exactly. Put it in your own car. Good luck sandwiching that into a Mazda 626, because that ain't going to happen. You know, then I walked back and Mark was like, what was that all about? I'll tell you later. So then he disappears. Like, you know what he wanted me to do? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Till this day, I tell that story. People are like, really? And he was serious? Serious as a heart attack. He was the biggest thief going. He stole a box of cigars from a tobacco trade show, and everyone knew it. But he put on so much bluster and bravado that he just like fake it till you make it, yelling at the top of his lungs, threatening to press charges against defamation of character that they just, he got away with, like, at the time, like a $100 box of cigars.
Do you know who I am? I'm Irv.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Good old-
I'm Herb. No, I'm thinking of Herb
You're
from the radio.
juxtaposing your Jewish managers. Yeah, we had Irv at WDBK.
Yeah.
I had Herb at Laurel Lord.
I'm Herb. Do you think I would go walk off with a box of cigars? I would never do. What's my name? I'm
Legend has it he stole a tracksuit for his wife.
from the same place?
At another tobacco show, Philip Morris is the manufacturers of Virginia Slim cigarettes, and they were raffling off. Remember when in the late 80s, tracksuits were very in fashion for women? They would go out in their highfalutin Adidas. Nike wasn't even a thing then. Back then, it was Adidas.
Yes.
So these women's Adidas tracksuits.
And Puma.
And Puma was another one, exactly. So Philip Morris made these Virginia Slim tracksuits made by Adidas, but they were embroidered with the Virginia Slims logo on and everything. Probably worth a fortune if you had one now as a collectible.
You know who would look sexy in that
He
suit?
actually stole one.
My wife would look so sexy in that. I think I got to get that.
Yeah. With her 180-pound fupa.
Well,
got
I
to wrap
don't know
that up in a
Mrs. Herb.
tracksuit.
Yeah, I thought Mrs. Herb was attractive. I didn't really know.
Yeah. Well, she was really something before electricity, as Rodney Dangerfield alluded to in Caddyshack. So...
All right, so let me ask you a question. Now that we're all for Herb.
Yeah, he could always come back.
All right. I guess we're going to do podcast shout-outs? Let me get to Jesus. I got to find podcast shout-outs.
Well, check out these fine podcasts with the Jason and Mindy podcast.
Okay. And then now what? I don't know any of the other ones.
The Boomer Bunker?
I got to find them. Yeah, of course I know the Boomer Bunker.
Who's
Let me
right?
see
You
if I
don't know
can
about
find
who's
out.
right?
Hang on a sec. Let me see if I can get into our... I got to see if I can
Right
get into
now,
our
Doug is screaming your name
account.
now. Fucking John!
Where's the Brand X podcast? There it is. Hold on. Let's see if we can get this thing to fill. Phil.
Phil
Let's see
McCracken.
if it goes. Fuck you. I can't get into our podcast thing. Where did our podcast shout-outs? I thought I had...
Isn't technology wonderful?
See? Well, what happened? What happened was, I think we got our show got taken out, and I can't. Why is it? Bear Cave, Unbelievable, Stupid, Black Clown, We Podcasters. I can't find it.
How about the Unwritable Rant with Julia
gmail.com. Wait a minute. I know what to do.
Well, I did
Hang
3
on
of
a
them. You could
second.
do the rest. And boys, as Juliet
Hang
and Dave,
on.
the producer, living their best life, you know.
All right, wait a minute. Let's see. Aha! I got it. All right, hang on. All right, let's get back into this thing. Share screen, tab, podcast shout-outs. I think that's it.
That's
That's the ones.
Well, I did
All
the
right,
first
let's do
3
it now.
already, so
Now we're going to do it over again because I got to cut all that
why?
out.
I thought it was funny. Okay, the Jason and
Oh,
Mindy
I might be-
podcast with Jason and Mindy, and you can join them live as they record on Wednesdays at 7, I believe, Eastern Standard Time now for them.
Right. And after you're done with them, you can go to the Boomer Bunker podcast with Bob and John because we start at 9 o'clock Eastern time. All right. So now I fucked everything up in the order. The Who's Right podcast with Doug and
Unwritable Rant
Anthony.
with Juliet Miranda, who's living their best
I
life in
shake
their
my-
new location.
Oh my God. Should two people that I've never met two people that absolutely should live in New Orleans like those two people. They're having a ball there. All right. I shake my head with Lisa and
The
Sam.
Robin Slim Show with, you guessed it, Robin Slim.
And the Marries as Fuck podcast with Randall and Brooke. And he also has another podcast. I got to get the name of it. I don't
You're
know
a
what
bad
that is.
friend.
Sorry, Randall. I'm a bad friend.
Boomer Bunker with Bob and John. Because it's in red, I'm going to read it again. I didn't mean that to rhyme, but it
Okay.
happens sometime.
And the Brilliant Observations podcast with Jessica. Oh, wait a minute. Not Jessica. With Melissa and Amy.
So you got it. Not.
Wouldn't be a podcast without the Jimmy calling.
And the Rubberneckers with John and a whole bunch of other guys.
Jesus Christ, with him. All right, say
The
that one more time.
Rubberneckers podcast with John and a whole bunch of other guys. I don't know because I don't listen to the podcast.
You should check it out. I think you'd like it. We got 4 new. We got what we call Dave's Gone.
Who's it?
So
You
it's
and Devin
Jody,
still from
me.
the original?
No, Devin's gone. I'm the sole
Boy.
survivor. It's me, Jody, Edward from I Am Canceled podcast, and Josh. And Josh is from the Beelzebub
You
podcast.
keep doing what you did to Bob.
So-
It'll just be the John bunker.
Yeah. Let me say, I don't even know if it's going to stay in the show, but I want to go to, listen, the Boomer Bunker show is Bob's show. It was his idea. He started it.
show.
It's his show. I know. I don't think I can do this two days a week. I think I need to cut it down to 1. I think I want to do Wednesday nights and Wednesday nights only. I would like to see him if he wants to do Monday mornings, find another co-host for Monday mornings. And then if he wants to, he can have that co-host for Wednesdays too. It's fine if he wants to do that. But I don't know if I can do 2 days anymore. I think it's just too much. But I have to think on it. I will think on this, and I will get back to Bob. But I think I've made up my mind that I only want to do Wednesday nights. And he can certainly do Monday mornings, but he's going to have to find somebody else to do it with. What do you think?
Well, it wouldn't be that much of an issue if you weren't such a pain in the ass as a co-host and like bothering Bob.
You know me. I like things run. I
Yeah,
like
I
to run a
have to
tight
say,
ship.
Yeah, Bob lasted 20 minutes. It took me 4 years.
Yeah, I thought he was done. I figured I killed another podcast. I was like, I killed another podcast. When we get done with this, I'll be the end of this, and that'll be that. Yeah. And that's fine. And then all of a sudden he
was
showed back
very
up. I was like,
uncomfortable.
oh, okay. Dude, you don't know how many people say, why can't you do Brand X more than once a month?
Because Deuce is a
I'm
pain in the ass and a prima donna. There's your answer.
Yes. There's your answer. I'm glad you're being honest. All right, everybody. Hopefully
Thursday. This will be out by tomorrow, right?
the September 8th. No. It will definitely be out by Sunday.
Promises,
That much
promises.
I promise you. Promises. Or earlier. We'll see. I'm definitely naming this one Freedom Isn't Free.
Yeah, you do you.
All right, everybody.
Take it easy, everyone.
Will you shut the fuck up so I can end the recording?
That's it. We're just getting into it.